Hey everyone, third video on the channel. Much more of a chill one this time around. Minor backstory. I started working on a super massive Hazbin Hotel rewrite video a couple months ago, and that's still probably a few months away, but I thought that redesigning the cast was a fun way to work in my character design background and have some fun while doing so. Disclaimer, I am not a professional, nor do I work on an actual TV show, so my word is by no means gospel. I'm mainly going off of notes that myself and others had about the current designs. Take this video less as a, this should be in the show instead of the OG design, and more like a, here's what it would be like if I made the show design exercise. And if you'll notice the little goober I have on my screen, she's animated using VeadoTube, a free itch.io app for syncing PNGs to audio, linked below. And with that out of the way, onto our first redesign. Alright, so, our first redesign of the day, Charlie. Possibly the most, well, I'm not going to say controversial, I doubt I'm big enough to cause a controversy, but yeah, very different from her base design. There are a couple reasons. First off, semi-lore-wise, I suppose. In my rewrite, I wanted to put more of a focus on hell changing people. Not only, mentally, but physically. Like, going to hell makes you into the worst version of yourself. Like, well, this is kind of explored in the show proper, with sinners physically representing some of the vices they had in life. Example, Angel Dust. He's a spider because his family was involved in a web of crime and other little things like that that are, a little bit hard to notice sometimes. But why is Charlie different? She's not a sinner. But her mom is. I was thinking maybe a redesigned Lilith, which I haven't done yet, but, if you want it, I'll do it. Could potentially have... Well, in the show, she already has goat-like features, so you could potentially pass that down to Charlie. And to even add on to that, there are several legends in folklore that involve a woman giving birth to an unholy entity that has animalistic traits. One of the, main ones is the Jersey Devil, which is somewhat what I base Charlie off of in this case. So, with that out of the way, other design choices I made. Her hair is a little bit more similar to the pilot. I find that, I like a bit more... I kind of like the pilot design a little bit more. At least, seeing it animated, but that's literally just a personal, take from me. Horns, obviously, go just a little bit more demonic. Gave her a tail, because why not? I don't think goats have tails like that, but, it doesn't really matter. Kept a lot of the somewhat dull imagery. I've seen a lot of people, interpret her kind of like that. I think that can be kind of interesting. Gave her, the classic sideways goat eyes as well. Kept her sharp teeth. And as for clothes, I thought it would be interesting to make her dress just a little bit more scrappier. One, to kind of fit in with the denizens. I think that's something that she might struggle with. At least in my weird little rewrite universe. And also, this is the first example of something that's going to be a bit of a trend in these redesigns. Toning the red down a bit. It's one of the most pertinent criticisms I've seen of the designs is that there's too much red and it blends in with the background. And, some things are a bit more up to personal preference. But I did take that into account with most of the redesigns. I made her main outfit a little bit more pale, more so using red highlights to highlight certain things. I'd like to really humbly thank Instagram user Dameganzone, I think that's how you pronounce it, for providing a lot of the main inspiration for this design. If you'll check out their original, it's basically very similar, except adapted more to what I have in mind. So please, please, please show them your love, support, etc. Tell them I sent you. or don't. I don't know. I also gave her a little hair gradient because I'm addicted to gradients. If you look at 90% of the backgrounds in this video are just straight up gradients with like pretty patterns on it. I can't stop myself. And with that, on to the next quote unquote redesign, Angel Dust. Now, if you'll actually, pay attention, it's not too much like of a redesign. I'd say 90% of the main character traits are still there, very obvious to see. So I'll just go over more of the main general changes. The gloves, slightly shorter, slightly different design. The coat and the little tuft on the neck. I don't even know what that's called in real life on clothing. I wanted to give him a bit more of a 30s vibe, and again, personal opinion. I don't even know what like the consensus is for like, oh, if a sinner is there for like 100 years, are they gonna act the same or kind of stay true to their time period, or are they gonna evolve and change? Like, it doesn't, I don't know. Does it matter? Not really. I just wanted to add to the design, not a direct criticism. These aren't like all my design criticisms specifically. It's like half that, half stuff I want to add just because I just had like creative control there. So hat, little hat. I like hats. This is the head shape in general. I don't have the VivziePop art style. I tried my best to mimic it for these designs, but I just don't, have it. So obviously, if someone on the show or actual crew member like drew that closer to the style, it would look different. This is just how, like, if I didn't even draw a redesign of Angel Dust, if I just drew him, it would look more similar to this than his show counterpart. But besides that, yeah, brief overview of that design. On to the next. Vaggie, who I renamed Gina in my little rewrite because, I mean, if you have the ability to name yourself anything, why would it be Vaggie? Why would you keep that name? I don't know. So you still keep the little funny reveal with Adam, and you still keep the, general vibes. So, another one of the designs that's more of an overhaul, generally, and there are several reasons. Firstly, contrast with other characters. I had this idea when doing the rewrite that design-wise, more heavenly entities like angels and whatnot could have slightly more serious, human-proportioned designs as opposed to the Hellcast, which lean more cartoony. So you kind of end up getting this Who Framed Roger Rabbit-esque relationship between Vaggie and Charlie, because it's kind of like, oh, different worlds and stuff. So I think that's a bit what guided my design choices here, to be honest. Secondly, again, with the reds, cooled it down quite a bit. You have more of a closer to maroon than like a bright red on her design here. Her hair, completely different. Changed it up, made it more blue, gave her a slightly different hair pattern with eyes on there, kind of reference to like Seraphim and, the biblically accurate angel, stuff like that. Instead of a bow, she has two little moth antennae on her head. I thought it'd be cute. Instead of her, red cross in front of her eye, I gave her an eye patch, which I think fits better with this completely retooled version. I don't even have anything against the red X. It's just like, different design calls for different aspects. Her eye colors change, black eye with what's the little colored part of your eye? With white cornea, black pupil, etc. Just looks cool. Again, most of these changes are just looks cool and fits with what the rest of the design is trying to say for me. Ever so slightly buffed her up just because, I don't know, warrior, just personal things that I would add to the character again. So, on to the next, shall we? Alastor. This is the first one I made. Another big overhaul in design. Funnily enough, when I posted this somewhere, somebody commented with just an image of the like black licorice cookie from Cookie Run, I believe. I'm gonna put an image up on screen for everyone at home, and it just ended up being really funny to me because I didn't even intend any of the similarities. They just happened somehow. I didn't even play that game that much, and it just happened, I guess. So, main goal with this design was to balance out some of his character aspects a little better. Not really insulting the original design. I think it stands fine on its own, honestly. I just want to have my take, be out there. I want to balance his main 3 aspects or core traits. And I think that's, for most characters, off of like vibes and design, you could name 3 main things that stand out, 3 or less. Because when you start adding more, it gets a little bit difficult to balance them out. Like, let's say a character like Charlie, just for example, would have 2 main aspects: princess, hell spawn. So a character like, say, Batman would have around like 3 aspects: ninja, bat themed, billionaire, etc. So I feel Alastor, for his traits, I'd say they're, Satanist slash cult member, 30s radio host, and like deer because of his whole backstory. And so I wanted to kind of balance that out just a little bit more. Add a bit more radio, keep around the same amount of deer. And also clearly have him have that satanic influence as well. So in order to do that, I changed up his horn design to make it just a little bit more prominent on his head to also balance out that space. I gave him a hat, first off, just a little hat. I made his outfit look slightly more accurate to radio hosts from the 30s. I did a bit of research, looked at pictures of them. And this is closer to what the average one would wear. Did some, color balancing. You have your main colors, which is maroon and gray, and your highlight color, which is gold. Instead of his normal eye, he has... Well, first of all, I changed his eye color. I think that might be a lore thing, so I might need to change that back. I forget what the rule is. It's like, if you're an overlord, you have like red eyes or something like that, and if you're under an overlord, you have blacked out eyes, something like that. So that might need changing, or I could just change all the other overlords. It's my world, I guess. But continuing on, one thing I'm willing to admit kind of dropped the ball on the Radio Demon's design. For his like going all out design, I think in episode like 5 or something, whichever one has Minty in it, I kind of didn't like it that much, So I tried to like redo it, but I kind of also dropped the ball on that one. I don't really like it. I don't really like how it turned out, my drawing of it. I kind of wanted to go for like horns, and he's like, oh, serious now. But it kind of just looks like him. I thought the only thing I like about it is the stitches, really, across his face, kind of represent like his whole deal. That's the only really part I liked. But, finishing out the main design, gave him a little vest, little striped vest. Kind of parallels his classic design a little bit, but only the stripes. Most things are just completely changed, including his face. Teeth, completely different, no sharp teeth this time. Just because for a creepy character, I've seen through, my design that straight teeth can easily up the creep factor a little bit. Because one, they're not really natural. Like no human person has their teeth connect up and down like that. It's just not how that works. Hey, Editing Mari here. Realize that I don't finish my point and kind of just trail off. What I mean to say here is that, again, more so personal taste. Sharp, thin-line teeth can up the creep factor a bit more than simple sharp teeth. I feel like there's a bit of a dichotomy here, almost. Sharp teeth can be scary, but straight connected teeth can be more unsettling or creepy, which I feel fits the character's vibes better here. Additionally, I feel like it would make his ever-present smile slightly more unsettling when you add to the fact that practically every character in the show has sharp teeth. Alastor isn't special at all in that regard. But if you make his smile a noticeable standout, you regain some of that allure. Anyways, back to the broadcast. Secondly, little mustache. I think it just ties the design together, a little bit neatly. Hairstyle is different just because this hairstyle suits this current design more than his OG hairstyle. He kind of changed everything else. Why keep one thing? And that's about it. Oh, not only, I forgot to mention this really key part. His skin tone. I changed it ever so slightly. Made it ever so slightly darker and changed the other surrounding colors. Like, I added more grays to balance out the skin tone. So that worked more in harmony with the rest of the design, is what I meant to say earlier, and I kind of blanked on that one. Anyways, with that, we'll be moving on to our next redesign, Husk. At the time I'm recording this, I drew him like 2 days ago. I was literally like, I should probably get this video out. Oh shoot, I forgot to draw Husk redesign. So yeah, he's one of the ones I had a lot more trouble with. I'm still not completely confident in this current design, but it is what it is. But yeah, another thing that troubled me a lot was figuring out what he would wear, because in the show he just kind of doesn't. But like his chest is kind of bare, but he has like dots on his chest, which is kind of confusing to me. But yeah, I gave him a little vest and overalls. It was hard to choose the colors for them. Like, this is kind of one of the instances where my color balance kind of way of thinking failed just a bit. I still think it came out decently, but yeah, changed his stature. He's a little less hunched over, but more grouchy. Like, I look at this person, I'm like, oh, this guy's not fun to be around. He just looks like he's already having a bad time. You don't want to add to it. And also, resuming the pattern of, again, I'm not an animator. I don't know what makes a character easier or harder to animate. But I did try to go in with that approach as best I could. And I kind of simplified some of the patterns that were already present. And funnily enough, I didn't even mean to exclude his tail from the design. I literally, halfway through the drawing, I just realized, I looked at my ref and I was like, oh, he has a tail there. He doesn't have a tail here. I guess I forgot or something, man. And it was too late for me, at least, to want to just redo things. So, no tail. Which is, I don't know. I don't mind the tail. I think it's completely fine. But I just forgot to draw it in. And, I hope I made Keith David proud. Good voice actor. Continuing on with the Pentious redesign. If I'm being completely honest, this solely stems from one thought I had while watching. I was like, Pentious, where's the snout? Where's the... I don't know. I don't even think it looks that bad. It looks completely fine. But I just was like, this man needs a snout. Let's give him a fucking a schnoz. And that's literally the only main design change. Besides a couple really tiny things like changing the stripes on his suit and removing a couple eyes from his tail and stuff. So yeah, hope you like that one. On to the next. Vox. Boy, have I had a time with you. If you'll notice, my little PNG character here has the horns that he has. Because I was like, what would be cool on my actual TV character? And it's not like this is a strictly Vox thing. I just made this up for the redesign, so I'll just add it onto her. So I think it came out nicely for me. But yeah, the Vox redesign, if you'll notice, he's a bit inconsistent. Well, him having an eye here, but a mouth here, that's completely intentional. But some smaller aspects, like teeth color, especially in my thumbnail for my Stayed Gone cover, I kind of changed up his redesign a little bit. Yeah, unintentional. I'm just not that good at being consistent. But this is kind of just this design is a bit of an exploration of, the whole, your hell body is representative of your vices, and it also somewhat serves as a punishment. I believe that in this redesign, on screen when he's appearing on a TV screen or something, he can either show his eye or his mouth. And he can like clone himself as much as he wants, like within the screen, but he can only show one of those things at a time. I think that can be really funny. You can have like some funny interactions where like a character is trying to make out what he's feeling from just his mouth, and he just has to use his little antennae as like makeshift eyebrows in order to emote sometimes. But yeah, other things. Shape language, I used a little bit. I rarely, like, it's a very important thing for design, shape language. I'm not good at using it that often. I did try in this design, however. I did try. He has a bit more presence, you know, very broad shoulders, very wide, like, silhouette, because he's kind of meant to inspire subservience. Like, oh, he's a big, bad overlord. That's how he wants to appear as. And I actually have this idea in mind that under the suit, he's actually like still like as skinny, like he's not as bulky or big as he appears to be. And that's kind of, you know, a representation of his actual character. The second you try to pick him apart, he just kind of falls. Besides that, nothing much. The color balancing is very similar to the original design, so I won't comment on that too much. I kept other like smaller details, of course, like his, you know, shirt colors and his shoes. And with that, we will be moving on to our last and certainly least redesign, Valentino, another very small touch-up redesign. I was literally just in my fucking art chair, like, let's give this man a nose. Yeah, first thing, he is a mosquito in this design instead of a moth, just because I feel like that matches what his character vibe is a little bit more. He's like a slimy, disease-having little fucking monster, and that deserves to, you know, be despised. Outside of that, kind of changed, you know, what he's wearing under the big, poofy, what's it called? You know, the pimp coat, or whatever. You know, gave him a little mustache, be a little goatee combo. Just absolutely amp up the evil on that one. Made his little feather plume a little bit smaller, and besides that, just tiny little things here and there. Yeah, mostly, you know, just smaller things that I think could be different. Just doing other things that makes the design more, not more consistent, but makes the design match the character pretty well. That's something that I always strive to do, even like outside of redesigns in my own character design, for my own like works and stuff. I try to make it so if you look at a character, you can tell their vibe immediately. You know, you look at this guy, you're like, oh, he's kind of schmarmy. He's kind of, you know, nasty. Well, you could already get that, honestly, but I just think that, like, the touch-ups I've done have helped a little bit. So with that, we have covered every single one of my new Hazbin redesigns. Now, I know what you're thinking. Yes, I did leave a few characters out. Mainly because there are some characters that I didn't really have any ideas for, and there are some characters whose designs I think are fine, and that I wouldn't really, you know, want to change up too much, or that I think that I could, you know, do any meaningful changes. But honestly, if you do want to see more redesigns, characters like, I don't know, Lilith, Lucifer, etc., or even from other shows, you know, or other games, or anything, please let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear y'all out, truly. If you have any and all constructive criticism as well, I would love to hear you out, you know, like, oh, the line work was a little bit weirder. Oh, you can, you know, improve your design. Like, this is just an experiment, honestly. And I did have this idea for, like, if you guys ever wanted to hear my personal character design advice, because, like, again, as a non-professional, I'd love to do something like that, like an Art 101 or whatever, even though I think that I'm not a good teacher. But, you know, it's an idea. And last but not least, the Hazbin rewrite will be out when it's out. I'm gonna be honest. Probably like at least a few months from now. Just because of the way I'm doing it is I'm literally handwriting a script for like each episode. And honestly, I might just switch to outlines of like major plot beats, etc. But hey, it is what it is. There's that on top of all the editing, etc. That's gonna take. So I don't know, give or take of like 3 months. Hopefully before season 2 comes out, because good God, that would just be such a rainy day on my parade, man. Anyways, stay safe, be kind to yourself. Bye bye.